guys, I'm Leila. Today we're in Raid Shadow Legends, and we're going to be checking out Lord Entertainer Fabian. Lord Entertainer Fabian is the new legendary undead champ for Raid Shadow Legends 6-year anniversary, right? He's the new fusion. And I thought it'd be a lot of fun for us to check out his lore story. I haven't read it at all. He looks kind of like Rhodos, right? Rhodos and Siphi. He's got kind of the ethereal, is that the right word they would kind of say? The ethereal look here. But he also has like this masquerade mask on half of his face. It looks like he's got like a half mustache and a beard. And then the other half looks like it's kind of missing in a way. Almost kind of like Two-Face or something, right? Has a really neat outfit. I like this. The cape is neat. I really like this quite a bit with the roses. I think that's pretty cool. I'd love to know, like, I hope his lore story kind of ties all this together. So I'm guessing Lord Entertainer Fabian. So he has to be like a count. Maybe not necessarily a king, but he has to be some kind of nobility, right? And like I said, I haven't checked out the lore story, so let's check it out together right now. For all his existence, Lord Entertainer Fabian has dwelled in Arabia. His father, Patrice, was a Kirokan diplomat to the High Elves. In his youth, Fabian was tutored in horse riding, swordsmanship, and magic, as any noble son of Arabia would. He was well liked by his elven teachers for his impeccable manners and his grace and style in all things. He was, as they said, exceptional for a human. For his part, Fabian loved the Arabians' high standards, especially in the glamour of formal occasions. He longed to take a place in high society. Fabian admired the High Elves' festive of creation celebrations most. His father periodically held them himself until Fabian requested at his coming of age that he organize them. Patrice gladly granted permission, as the work was onerous indeed. Fabian relished it. Not only did he host an annual event, but within a decade they were regarded as the best in Arabia. The events Fabian held were seen as the embodiment of tasteful sophistication, a perfect balance of opulence and restraint. He carefully managed every last detail, whether that be kind of lace used for his musicians' costumes, the wine accompanied to the 8th course, the precise shade of blue for napkins, or how many buttons his servers' waistcoats should have. Fabian preferred just one thing to organizing his events: seeing his guests enjoy them. He hoped the High Elves would come to fully accept him, not just see him as an exceptional human. But they did not. The Arabians liked, even loved Fabian, affectionately calling him the Lord of Levity, but he was never one of them. Fabian's death was sudden and premature. His body was found with a terrible head injury, and the murder was never solved. By popular demand, Fabian was posthumously granted full citizenship by Queen Eva herself and declared Lord Provisioner of the Grand Ball of the Festival of Creation in perpetuity. Furthermore, plans for the next 3 years' worth of his parties were discovered in his private offices. A public fund ensured all were held to Fabian's exact specifications and were celebrated successes. Though a shade of sadness hung over them, Fabian had won his acceptance, but he was not alive to experience it. In his silver filigree and mahogany coffin, Fabian did not rest well. His soul ached to return to Teleria, for he knew he had much life to live and many more magnificent events to hold. He burst from his grave the night of the third and final party he had planned before his death and witnessed it unfold through a window. The joviality was wonderful to behold. He also saw his new spectral form, still bearing the marks of the injuries that killed him, reflected in the glass. He was wearing a beautiful party mask, one he'd commissioned for the very event he was witnessing. It seemed his mourners had used it as a funerary mask for him. Were he able to cry, he would have wept for hours. What had become of him to end like this, even he did not know. He knew, however, he could not join his guests in his condition. Fabian resolved to continue his work regardless. The very next year, he held a magnificently successful party. As far as the guests were concerned, an anonymous donor had volunteered to organize the event in Fabian's honor. Their name kept secret so as not to distract from that purpose. And so, it has continued ever since. For years, the people believed that each event was funded by a private individual in Fabian's memory. The Lord Entertainer, as he became known, lives in his mansion, his undead soul bound to it, and his ancestral staff due to his love for home and family and life. He cannot leave. But even if he could, to do so would render him extremely vulnerable. Being undead, necromancers and Sirath himself can take control of his will. Fabian is safe only because of close friends. Not only did they discover him and not destroy him, they layered magical wards across his estate. Furthermore, they made the legal arrangements to protect his ownership of his mansion. Most importantly of all to Fabian, his friends keep him company. He finally knows how appreciated he is and takes much joy seeing others enjoy his events. But it hurts him that his undeath means he cannot partake in them. His friends' smiles, their words of encouragement, all give him strength to continue. With King Taba's war raging, he has needed this more than ever, for he intends his next celebration to be his greatest yet, to bring cheer to his bloodied guests, and to prove his dedication to the High Elves. He is sorely tempted to appear before his guests and remove his mask. Wow, okay. Now, I gotta say, I feel bad, though, in the fact that he was murdered. And not only was he murdered, like they never solved his murder. Like that was kind of it. He was just murdered. He had his head bashed in, and that was it. Like we don't know who did it. But he did end up coming back to life because he was pretty much uneasy in the afterworld, right? He didn't want to stay there. He wanted to come back to doing what he loved. And they talk about his friends. They talk about his friends are the ones that discovered him. They ended up not killing him. They did all of the illegal arrangements for his house, so basically like all the estate planning and things like that. And even after all of this, like he's still trying to feel accepted from the High Elves. Like he's still trying to prove his place there. So that part's kind of sad, is that basically that's all he really wanted, right? Is he loves the High Elves and he very, very much wants to be like one of them. It wants to be accepted by them. But it does make sense. So this moniker that he has here as Lord Entertainer is basically his undead persona, I suppose you could say, right? Since he can't leave his mansion, nobody can really know it's him. Is when he's funding these events and these parties and whatever that he's doing, is it has to become the Lord Entertainer. So I guess that moniker kind of makes sense, right, for him. But I really do hope that they explain a bit more like who the friends are. If you guys have seen, Raid did launch their new like 6th anniversary merch line. So we have, was it Gallic, Kale, and Death Knight have like masquerade masks and they're part of that too. So I wonder if maybe that's the 3 they're talking about. I'm not really sure, but I'd love to know what you guys think. Drop me a comment down below. You know, what do you think about Lord Entertainer Fabian's lore story? And I'd love to know what you guys think about it, and thanks for watching.